Morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the November meeting of the Nithsdale Divisional Licensing Board. Caroline, could you take us through the sediment, please? And I approve remote member participation.
Thank you, Convener. We have apologies from Councillor Dorward. I just want to ensure that the other 5 members are present this morning. So if I may, I'd just like to go through the roll call. Councillor Beretti, you're present. I can see Councillor Campbell.
Present.
Convener, you're obviously here. Councillor Jordan.
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you. And Councillor Little.
Yep, Caroline, I'm here too.
Thank you, members. So we have 5 present this morning, Convener.
Right. Now, I'll just read this out. This meeting is being recorded and live streamed. Could I remind members to follow the good practice guidance, which includes muting microphones and switching off their video when they are not addressing the meeting. Should you wish to contribute to any item, you should write speak in the Teams chat function or raise your virtual hand and you will be invited to speak in order. Should your question or issue be raised by a previous speaker, please withdraw your request so that we deal with the business as efficiently as possible. Right, we'll move on to item 2 now, declarations of interest. Don't see anybody with a hand up. Move on to item 3, minutes of the meeting 26th of August 2022. Can we take this as a correct record? Councillor Campbell.
Thanks, Convener, and good morning, everyone. Yeah, it's just on page 6, agenda item 11.1, which was the motion by yourself as convener and seconded by me. It makes reference to grant the application, to refuse the application. I don't see it can be both. Maybe that's just an error.
I think it's a typo, as they call them. Caroline, can you just confirm that? Because myself and Councillor Campbell moved to refuse that one.
Yes, thanks for pointing that out, Councillor Campbell. Yeah, I mean, obviously it was a motion to refuse, so we'll delete the word to grant so that it actually says a motion was to refuse.
Yeah,
and we'll put that down in the record.
Yeah, I'm happy to approve with the amendment, Convener. Thank you.
Right, and I noticed Councillor Beretti also indicating thumbs up that he was happy with the minutes. And that's all the hands down. Right, move on to item 4, Licence Scotland Act 2005, applications for occasional licences and extended hours granted under delegated powers. It's here for noting. Any questions on this one? I don't see any hands going up. Move on to item 5. Licensing Scotland Act 2005, applications for minor variations granted under delegated authority. Any questions on this one? Don't see any hands. We'll take that as agreement. Noted. Item 6, Licensing Scotland Act 2005, applications for transfer of premises licence granted under delegated authority. That's here for noting as well. Any questions? Don't see any hands, or to take that as noted. Now move on to item 7, Licensing Scotland Act 2005, Section 45 application, provisional premises licence, St Michael's Services Limited, 9 St Michael's Street, Dumfries. Caroline, would you like to take us through this?
Yes, thank you, Convener. I can see we've got the agent with us this morning, Mr. Stephen McGowan. Mr. McGowan, can you hear me okay?
I can. Good morning, and good morning, Convener and your honours.
Thank you. So members, this is an application for a provisional premises licence. Prior to me just going through the report, convener, Mr McGowan has been on the phone to me this morning, and he just wishes to raise a preliminary point for your consideration in relation to the capacity of these premises. So I'll just hand over to Mr McGowan just now to ascertain which way you wish to proceed. Thank you.
Thanks, Caroline. Convener, in your honours, if you'll indulge me, when I was reviewing my papers for this application, I noticed an error, a typo, which perhaps is slightly ironic given the earlier comment on the agenda this morning. The application paperwork which you have before you has the wrong number on the operating plan for the alcohol display capacity. It's entirely my fault. I've used the old number from the old license instead of the new number for the new license, so it's an oversight on my part. The number on your application paperwork says 5.9 for the off-sale capacity, but if you look at the layout plan, you'll see that the actual number for the new license, the correct number, is 27.5. There's a slight history to this premises which I don't want to detain your honours about too much, but it's essentially a one-in, one-out scenario, where a pre-existing licence is being replaced with a new licence because of a new building which is being constructed. So it's my error entirely, your honours. I do apologise. I wonder if you might just go with me and indulge me on allowing an amendment at the bar, as it were. I'm not obviously standing in front of you in the council chambers, but I wonder if you would indulge me on the basis that the layout plan is clearly correct. It clearly shows the right number. It is a typo on my part. There are no objections to this application either, your honour, so I'm hoping that that might give you comfort that there would be no one prejudiced in accepting an amendment at the bar. And I'm in your hands, your honours. All I can say is apologies. Obviously, I've already apologised to Caroline and to my client for the typo. But hopefully when you look at the plan, I think it's very obvious that the correct number is 27.5. So convener, Councillor Hislop, I'm in your hands on this. I wonder if you would be prepared to allow the application to proceed with the amended number.
One point of clarification from Caroline first. On the site notice, Caroline, would that size have been displayed, and could that have made a difference if, you know, because it's slightly over 4 times bigger than what was advertised, or is it just that there's going to be a licensed premise here, or is the actual size of the display? Yeah.
Okay, so convener, you've got a discretion here this morning. On the site notice, the application was advertised on the lesser capacity of 5.96 square metres, as per what was stated on the application. So as you've heard from Mr McGowan, the actual capacity is 27.45, which is a sizable difference, but this number was put on the layout plan, so we've not advertised 27.45, we've advertised 5.96. Now, these premises, I understand that they have been demolished because this is an application for a provisional. So if you were to grant the provisional, obviously you've got to allow these premises to get up and running, and then it comes back to us for confirmation. So you have 2 options this morning, convener. You can choose to proceed and accept the amendment to 27.45 square metres, notwithstanding that the application was advertised at a lesser 5.96 square metres, bearing in mind that there are no adverse comments at all to this application from the LSO or the police or anybody else. Or it is within your power to decide to defer consideration of the application so that there is a redisplay of the site notice for a further 21-day period, in which case obviously this application will be knocked back to the next hearing, which is in February next year, which is quite a wee bit away as well, and I'm not sure whether that will prejudice Mr McGowan's client in any way. So you can either just accept the amendment, accept the error was made on the basis that there's no adverse comments or objections to this application, and proceed on the basis that the requested capacity is 27.45 square metres, or defer and put it back to February, and there's a redisplay of a site notice showing the correct capacity.
Members, is there anyone wishing to comment on this? don't see any. Oh, I think it was Councillor Barretti and then Councillor Campbell. Both came up kind of simultaneously.
No, I think Caroline's analysis there was quite correct in the sense that if there hasn't been any negative responses to this at this stage, either I would just leave it and let's get on with the procedures rather than wait until February.
Councillor Campbell.
Yeah, thanks, convener. Just to ask Caroline, if this application was to be deferred, would the client be able to appeal such a deferral, and how long that would take to come back?
So, Councillor Campbell, no, they wouldn't be able to appeal a deferral, because I think it would, if you're minded that you want to defer consideration due to the error that's been made, then you can do so. You may wish to, consider if there's any prejudice to this Michael's services by deferring to February, given that there are no adverse objections or responses or comments here. But no, they wouldn't be able to appeal. You could defer.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of a mind that, it was an error and we should proceed on the amendment, but that's just my view.
Well, I think there's if no one else is coming in, I think the sort of view is that we'll accept on this occasion that there's been a typo and we'll proceed accordingly.
So just for clarity, we just check with the agent. So the amendment that's been accepted here is 27.45.
Thank you very much. Yeah, no, thank you. Your Honours, it goes without saying that that's a very magnanimous decision that you've taken. Certainly saves my face to some extent, given it's me that's made the error. So thank you for that. I really do appreciate it. Obviously, I'll address you in terms of the merits of the application, but I'm very grateful for your consideration of that preliminary point. So thank you.
So, convener, I'll just go through the report if I may. I just want to ensure that you also have the market research report that was submitted by Mr McGowan supporting the application that was emailed to yourselves on the 15th of November. So it's an application for a provisional premises licence. As you're aware, so the premises are not yet fully constructed. The application was received on the 8th of September 2022. We've gone through the statutory consultation. The site notice was displayed at the same time as our website notice, Friday the 16th of September to Saturday the 8th of October 2022. I can confirm that the confirmation of site notice has been received. We have the Section 50 provisional planning certificate and also disabled access and facility statements have been received. The last date for objections and representations was Friday the 7th of October 2022. We have an LSO report advising no adverse comment, and that's at Appendix 2. The actual application itself is detailed at Appendix 1, and of course the capacity, you've just accepted an amendment from 5.96 square metres to 27.45 square metres. Now, what I must add in relation to this application, if you look at paragraph 5 of the report, in terms of the law, on the face of it, these premises are excluded premises because they're a garage essentially, and you're prohibited in law from granting a premises licence to premises that are excluded unless, and if you look at paragraph 5.3, the section 1235 exemption applies, and I'll just read it for yourselves. If the premises used for the sale by retail of petrol or derv or which form part of premises so used are not excluded premises if persons resident in the locality in which the premise is situated are likely to become reliant to a significant extent on the premises as a principal source of petrol or derv or groceries. Now, you'll be fully aware that that is all rather flowery language indeed, and the law is what it is. So basically, you're fully aware that your consent to regulating the sale of alcohol from licensed premises, but now you're going to be analysing essentially how many people are relying on these premises for petrol and groceries. So that's why you've been given the market research report before yourselves. So it's for Mr McGowan to go through that and prove that the section 1235 exemption applies and all its delightful language. So I will hand over to Mr McGowan to go through the application, convener. Thank you.
Thank you,
Mr. McGowan.
Thank you, yes. Who would have known that the law had flowery language within it? Your Honours, I need to introduce my client. He is on out there in the ether, Jamie Wood. Jamie, would you like to turn your screen on for a minute just so the councillors can see you?
I beg your pardon, I didn't see Mr Wood there.
I'm not sure if my camera is actually working. I'm sorry, I'm not sure if you can see me or not.
Well, that's okay, Jamie. You said hello, so I'll take over from here. I just wanted the councillors to know you were here. So if you put yourself back in mute, Jamie, I'll take it from here. So,
Okay,
thanks, Jamie. So Your Honours, Jamie's the director of the applicant company. He is the operator of this premises. Just so you know, as Caroline has said, there's a wee bit of chat I need to give you about the application. But I think the wider context will hopefully help, Your Honours, because really this is what I would describe as a win-in, win-out type case. This premises, St Michael's Services, has been traded by Jamie since 1998, and it existed even before that, but he's traded it for many years. He was granted an alcohol licence for this premises under the old 1976 Act. He thinks it was around 2002. That licence was then converted into the new system under the 2005 Act in 2009. So this premises has existed for decades and it has been licensed for over 20 years. To the best of my knowledge, having spoken with Jamie about this over a long period of time now to get to this point, that's been without incident or issue, and I don't think it's a premises, as a licensed premises, has given either Your Honours or the police or anyone else for that matter any concerns over those 2 decades. What's happening now, Councillor Hislop and Your Honours, is that Jamie's decided to invest in a new building to upgrade the facility and modernise it and make it a fit and proper 21st century local convenience store and forecourt. And that's a project which is underway. So the old building, which had the licence for the last 20 years or so, was demolished, and we're in the process of building the new one, hence the new licence, and hence my expression one in, one out. The total investment in the modernisation and the upgrading of this premises is about £1 million. Your Honours, is a serious investment by Jamie and his business here. It also will mean, I'm pleased to say, an increase in jobs, which will be available to people when the new premises is open, because it will be a larger premises with a greater number of facilities on offer. There's presently about 8 people employed in the business, and Jamie's advised me that he thinks he would be doubling that if Your Honours are with us on this to support the new building going forward. And the new unit with the proper number on it, the proper alcohol display number, you will see, Your Honours, in the layout plan has a number of additional facilities such as food to go and a wider variety of convenience goods within the proposal. So because it's a larger store and because there is more to it, that means that Mr. Wood needs to hire more people. So I suppose that's always a good thing. The old building was demolished in October. The foundations for the new building are going in now. We're maybe looking at, roughly speaking, about maybe 6 months before the new place actually opens to the public. And just so Your Honours know, in case you've happened to have driven past and seen it for yourself, there is a temporary cabin operating, which is purely just to keep the pumps going. And for the avoidance of doubt, we're not selling any alcohol. Obviously, Jamie's decided not to sell any alcohol until we know what the outcome is and we have this licence confirmed in due course. That brings me to the market research, which I do need to mention for the record, as Caroline has mentioned. This is one of the more sort of unusual garage cases that I've done, because it essentially is an existing licensed premises. But the law, as you know, does require us to give Your Honours comfort and evidence that people in the locality use the premises. And what we've done is we've given you the research which the premises themselves has carried out with their own customers. So you've got that document. It's about 6 or 7 pages long, and that was carried out in the earlier part of the year once the application was in process and up and running. Now, I don't want to unnecessarily detain your honours with a blow-by-blow account of the research, and what I'll do is just give you a couple of summary points. Of course, I'd be happy to take any questions you might have, but I suppose just a couple of key takeaways from the questionnaire and the research. About 110 people participated in the research, and by my a rough calculation, I think about 90% of the people who have responded say they would be disadvantaged or inconvenienced if this premises did not sell fuel or groceries, which is the test. It perhaps might seem odd that whether or not you buy alcohol actually isn't the test. The test is, will you buy fuel or groceries? And it looks to me like it's an extremely high result, 90% or higher by my rough calculations. And if your honours look at the address, the postcodes which are given, my reading of that is the vast majority are DG1. There's the odd DG2 and maybe one or two other DG postcodes, but the vast majority are people who live in the local area. The vast majority are the existing customers. I suppose we're in a unique position to be able to say to your honours, because this is an existing business with an existing licence, we can say that these are our own customers. You know, these are Jamie's customers, people that live in the local area that already use the premises for convenience goods as well as for buying petrol as well. So that hopefully is helpful. Your honours, I'm sure, will know the area. There's a number of local housing association properties, you know, immediately adjacent to this facility, as well as wider residential estates, privately owned homes and whatnot. These are Jamie's neighbours. These are his customers, the people that come and use the existing premises. And obviously, I imagine they will be looking forward to being able to use the new, upgraded and modernised building once it's there for them. So I think, in summary, your honours, what that tells us, the survey tells us, is that this is a premises which is clearly already very widely used by people who are residents in the area, and therefore I think this is a case where the legal test, is absolutely made out and made out very clearly. There's no adverse reports, there's no objections to the application, and Mr. Collins, the LSO's report, I think, is a very fair summary of the context of the application as well. One thing I do want to put on record, your honours, is, as I've mentioned, I see this as a one-in, one-out type case, that if you're with us, then what would happen is that the existing licence, which is still in the ether, would be surrendered. And that would happen, if you're with me, I think, at the point that we confirm the provisional licence, and therefore that's something that I would arrange via Caroline's office where it's appropriate to do so. So the existing licence would be handed back and the new licence would take over. One in, one out. So your honours, if you're with me in all of that, I hope that you would see this as a positive application. It comes before you as a result of a significant monetary investment to upgrade this premises. Jamie's run this place for over 20 years. He's never given anyone any problems. He's a well-kent face, as they say, in this area. So your honours, I hope that you'll support it. I commend it to you, and thank you again for your forbearance with my error in the application form. Much appreciated.
Just one question. When you say locality and most of the customers are DG1 based, DG1 covers a very large area which goes up to likes of Park Gate, which is 8 miles north of Dumfries. Reading through a lot of them were DG1, what I would call 4s, which are more in the locality, or even in the rural areas, are coming in through that way to town. So it's more a sort of area. I'm willing to accept it, but just to let you know that DG1 isn't a good locality for me. I would say closer DG4, and I think you had a significant amount there, just to clarify that point.
Yeah, no, I perhaps paraphrased too significantly with my curtailing of the postcodes, Councillor. I take that entirely. DG14 obviously is the right reference here. You've obviously clocked, looking through the names and the postcodes which are given, that it is the local people, the existing customers that have participated, which I hope is a positive.
Right. Is there any questions for Mr. McGowan? Councillor Beretti, then Councillor Campbell.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. McGowan. I know the word groceries have been used quite a few times, and having participated at fuel stations and fuel stops around the country, I'm assuming groceries are not the only item of sale, because if you have got, as you say, a lot of customers, your range of products that you're selling must encompass more than just groceries. And as Ivor has, as Chair has already alluded to, do you have, let's say, an idea of footfall per day? Because it doesn't really matter where people come from in some sense, but what also determines the use of the building is the footfall over a period of time. Thank you.
On the first question there, Councillor Beretti, in terms of the facilities that are on offer, it is a wider retail offer. So whilst there is food, fresh food, canned goods, juice, basically what you would expect to find in a local convenience store, someone that wants to buy a small shop, not a full, weekly or monthly shop, is, I suppose, the origin of the phrase local convenience. This is going to be a wider range than the range that was in the previous building, and that's one of the things I would hope Your Honours would take as a positive. The premises is going to be larger than what it was before. We are putting in a number of additional facilities, including the food to go section, which I mentioned, which will allow people to come in and maybe get a hot roll or a savoury snack, as well as teas and coffees to go and so on. And that's not something that was there historically. So there's a wider variety of fresh food which can be taken away, designed to be eaten straight away, or there's a wider range of food which is designed to be put in your shopping bag and taken home. It's not all food, of course. There's general retail goods as well. Various convenience type goods that you would need for the kitchen or for the bathroom. These types of things would be available too. In terms of the footfall, I wonder if it may be actually better to hear from Jamie in this regard. Obviously, there's a wee bit of speculation here because this is a premises which is under construction. I wonder, Jamie, if we might speculate with one another and say that you would be anticipating a greater footfall in the new premises than you would have experienced in the old premises due to the upgrade in the larger premises. Would that be safe for me to speculate? Could you just jump in on that, Jamie?
Yes, thank you. Our previous footfall, obviously before construction, demolition and construction of the new building started, would be in the region of 1,000 to 1,500 people per day going through the site. Obviously with the new building we would anticipate that to be higher, and as Mr McGowan has explained, with the wider range of goods and services available, we would expect the basket size of each individual customer to be larger as well. So I would anticipate that it wouldn't be unreasonable to expect the footfall to go up to nearer 2,000 a day mark. Hope that helps.
Thank you, Jamie.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. That's clarified it. Thank you.
Councillor Campbell.
Thanks, Convener. Thanks, Stephen, for taking us through the report.
You're welcome.
I'm looking at Appendix 1, page 35, and where it says children and young persons not applicable. I'm just wondering why that part is in there, because if my understanding is in part of your presentation, you're trying to make reference that this is like a mini mart for the locality as well as a service station for fuel. Now, if it's a small mini mart, there will probably be, local families around about using that facility, so they will be entering the premises. I'm just wondering why the not applicable part, because if there's alcohol being sold at the premises, there will be children in that area.
Yeah, no, I get that point, Councillor Campbell. I can answer that one very, very quickly, hopefully. It's one of these sort of interesting dynamics of the Licensing Act, that if you're asking for an off-sale licence, you don't actually specify children's access. So the reason it says NA is because the way the licensing system works is that you only specify access if there's consumption on the premises. Now, of course, there's no consumption of alcohol on these premises. So what that means in the real world is that there's unrestricted access, which is, I think, the point you're trying to make. Of course, families are welcome. Of course, people would be coming in with their kids, you know, and buying items and whatnot. That clearly won't change. So although there's a kind of legal grey area regarding how you frame these things in the application, the reality is absolutely this is going to be a family-friendly local convenience store, and I think that's what you're expecting me to say, Councillor Campbell. So I hope that answers the question.
It kind of does, but my concern would be, because it's not just children, it's young persons as well. You know, what measures will be put in place to prevent young persons that possibly look about 18, you know, purchasing alcohol?
Happy to deal with that as well, Councillor Campbell. Of course, the usual rules will apply here. So Jamie will be following, and his staff will be following Challenge 25. And of course, Jamie and his staff will follow the usual rules regarding age verification and forms of ID. So although this is a new licence, I think, or I hope, that what your honours can take comfort from in relation to ensuring that alcohol doesn't fall into the hands of someone who shouldn't get it, is that you've got 20 years of trade at this premises where there has never been any issues of this nature. And I hope that would get us to the point where you can see Jamie as a safe pair of hands in this regard. But absolutely happy to get on record that, of course, we would do Challenge 25, age verification, and the till prompts. You know, we've got a premises here that will have CCTV, Councillor Campbell. It will have these modern tills that, you know, have these prompts that ask you for to you know, assess the person's age. If you happen to look under 25, dare I say it like I do, then, you know, the staff member would be required to ask for the ID. So absolutely happy to get all of that on record, and I hope that assists.
Thanks very much, Stephen. Thanks, convener.
You're welcome.
Unfortunately, nobody asks my age when I go to the till now, so I'm not too happy. Councillor Little, I notice your hand up.
Thanks, Chair, and thanks, Stephen, for well, the presentation, but also the answers to the questions. I just wanted to ask if this, in the event if this application was not successful for the alcohol licence, how would this, what kind of knock-on effect would this have to the rest of the project? You know, will it stop it completely? Well, you know, just what would the outcome of this be?
Well, thank you for the question, Councillor Little. I think that the answer to that is devastating. You imagine the importance of the alcohol licence to the wider business that has been there for the last 20 years. And then you consider what I might use a bit of a fancy phrase here, so forgive me, Councillor Little, but the halo effect, which is, you know, if people are going to go to a shop, they want to be able to buy a bottle of wine with the rest of their normal weekly goods. If they can't get their bottle of wine, then they'll go somewhere else for the rest of the goods as well. That's what the retailers call the halo effect, and it absolutely applies in a case like this. Bearing in mind that this is an existing licensed business that's traded for all these years, the local people that use this premises will use it to buy a bottle of wine or some cans of beer or whatever it might be with the rest of their pasta, their milk, or whatever else that they might be buying. So if that was to be lost, that would have a devastating impact on the business, especially where what we're doing here is seeking to modernise and upgrade the premises to create additional facilities for those same loyal customers that have traded with Jamie over all of these years. So I suppose your question is, how important is the licence? It's absolutely essential to the viability of the business going forward.
If there are no other hands going up, we're being asked to determine this application. There was no adverse comments from licensing or the police. I would be happy to grant this. Now it's in principle, isn't it? Or provisional premises license until the buildings. So I would be happy to grant. Anyone otherwise minded? Councillor Little.
Don't panic, Stephen. I'm on the same. I'm on the same the same side as Ivor. Yes, I would be minded to grant this. This is actually a very, as you said, so well Kent, as well as the face, the actual premises itself. It's very well used, and I'm sure there's a lot. You have your up to university, the college, the Crichton, up at Mountain Hall. There's a lot of traffic go through there that require the actual fuel. But no, I would be minded, the same as you, Ivor, to grant this.
Councillor Campbell.
Yeah, I'm happy to support this application. I just wanted a wee bit of clarity, probably from Caroline, if I may. I'm looking at page 38 in the report, and it says normally excluded premises cannot be subject to the premise licence. If an application for a premises licence for excluded premises is lodged, it must be refused, even if granted through inadvertence. It's just that part there, even if granted through inadvertence, what that actually means. I mean, Stephen's already alluded that, you know, they've had a licence since the 70s at this premises, but it's just that paragraph there. If Caroline could maybe just explain what that actually means.
Yeah. Councillor, can you just tell me what paragraph you're talking about in relation to if granted through inadvertence?
Right.
Where is
Page 38, Caroline, and it's about 1, 2, 3, 4, about the fifth paragraph down.
So that's the LSO report?
Yes.
Right, okay, so I cannot obviously speak to the terminology used by the LSO. That would not be terminology that I would use. So I can't comment definitively on that. But certainly in terms of the law, if the premises are excluded, then you're prohibited in law from granting a licence. So the issue here is they're not excluded if persons resident in the locality are likely to become reliant to a significant extent on the premises as the principal source of petrol or DER. So that's where we bring in this market research report. The idea behind all of this originally, rightly or wrongly, and I won't say what I think, is that, you know, if you've got a garage for some reason and you're driving up to the garage, you should not be able to purchase alcohol because for some reason there's a correlation between going to get your petrol and then maybe ending up buying alcohol, and you know, goodness knows what would happen there, although how that differs from a supermarket isn't clear to me in law. So those are words used by the LSO that I wouldn't use, so I can't comment on what he means there. But are these premises excluded on the face of it? Yes, but they're not excluded if the section 1235 exemption applies. And this section 1235, where you're analysing persons resident in the locality, there's no legal definition of what a locality is. What do we mean by persons? You don't need the whole community reliant to a significant extent. You don't need absolute dependency. As a principal source of fuel or groceries, the principal source, you can have other sources as well. I mean, it's all kind of vague. It's not satisfactory in my view. Does that answer your question?
No, it just makes me more confused, Caroline. But
it's okay. I'm sure as well. A lot of us are not entirely clear on that.
Absolutely. But I'm happy to support this, convener. Thanks, Caroline.
No. I've got Councillor Barretti. I did see Councillor Jordan's hand up, but it's been removed. So, Councillor Barretti.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. One of my questions as to why I wanted to know the footfall was because, I mean, most fuel stations, I think I know where the fuel station is, 1,000 cars a day? I don't think so. So there must be a proportion of that 1,000 to 1,500 who are going into the station simply to do their shopping because it's convenient. And it may well be that they don't actually have access to a car, so they've only got their pedestrians, and they may not want to go further afield. I've seen that in other places. You know, I suspect that I have to look at how many of these individuals simply cannot go anywhere else, and this station this locality may well be the only place. So I'm actually happy to support the motion, to support it either.
Right. With that, I don't see anyone otherwise minded. Caroline, can you confirm our decision?
Okay, so just running past yourself there, convener, you're happy to grant the application on the amended capacity 27.45 square metres, just before I relay to Mr McGowan.
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you. Thanks, convener. So there you've just heard Mr McGowan. The application is granted on the accepted amended capacity of 27.45 square metres, and you'll be notified of that in early course in writing. Thank you.
Thank you, Caroline. Convener and Your Honours, thank you for your indulgence in the application today, and I'm sure I and my client are both very happy with the outcome, so thank you very much for that. If I just finish by saying that I hope at some point we get to go back to doing hearings in the real world. I can actually come and sit in front of you in the council chamber. It's been a while since I've done that, so I hope that might happen at some point. Best wishes to everyone. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you, Mr McGowan. Right, we'll move on to item 8 now. Licensing Scotland Act 2005, section 84A, conduct inconsistent with the licensing objectives, personal licence holder Lucy Forteith.
Thank you, convener. Thank you. So I would just like to, from the outset, can we just check that Miss Forteith is here with us today, please? Miss Lucy Forteith, because obviously I can't see completely clearly on my screen, and I do know that is Miss Forteith with us just now? If you just can indulge me, convener, I'm just going to have a wee check just down on the persons that are with us today, because I just want to check that I don't see Miss Forteith on the external links here. Okay, so convener, so this is an application, a section 84A application from the police. I can see that we have Inspector Hugh McComb with us today. Before I go into the report, Miss Forteith is not with us today. So I do know that a recorded delivery letter was sent to her. Our licensing officer is advised that she's not sure if it's been delivered because the post office, the Royal Mail website, is not showing either way. I also know that a first class letter was sent to her. Again, I can't confirm whether that was delivered or received, etc. I do know that we've emailed her a letter advising of today's hearing, and understand that our licensing officer has indeed tried to call her, call Miss Forteith, and we've not received any response. So it's obviously up to yourselves. If before I even go through the report, you can see that the alleged matters relating pertaining in the police letter do allege, I think it'd be reasonable to say, mental health issues allegedly. So you can either proceed in Miss Forteith's absence, whereby she is not able to participate and speak to her case and rebut or address the issues raised in the police letter. You can proceed in her absence. You don't know the reasons, of course, why she's not present today and has not responded to the communication sent out by the team. She may be in... So it's, and in terms of natural justice, you may wish to consider the merits of having Miss Forteith present. You don't know why she's not present, given the issues raised in the police letter. So you can defer consideration. In terms of the law, there's no statutory timeline ticking here. It's a section 84A. You can defer to enable us to try and contact Miss Forteith. I don't want to speculate as to why she's not here. She could be elsewhere, given the issues raised in the police letter. I don't know. Or you could proceed in her absence, but in terms of natural justice, is that fair to her because she's not able to rebut and address the issues raised in the police letter? But it's entirely in your hands, convener. Thank you.
Do we know, is Miss Forteith currently using her personal licence?
In terms of, excuse me, her personal licence is legally effective. So if you're asking, it's legally effective, therefore it is in place, yes. Whether she is still, in terms of employed at her employer in licensed premises, the hole in the wall, I cannot say, but it's legally in effect.
Right. I'm sort of minded to defer this one, but to the next board meeting, and if Miss Forteith doesn't appear then, I think we should proceed at that stage, but I'm willing to listen to other members to see what their views are. Councillor Campbell?
Yeah, thanks, convener. Yeah, I'm kind of like-minded because I think for the sake of natural justice, you know, that Miss Forteith should be able to rebut some of the accusations, the things in the police report. So it would be unfair if she wasn't here. I can't remember, was she here at the last licensing board that we had when we granted her licence, Caroline?
I recall that she was, Councillor. I recall that she was, and if I'm wrong, I'd be grateful for someone to interject and advise to the contrary, but I believe that she was.
That was my understanding. I'm sure she was present and she was able to give a report to the committee, or the board rather. So yeah, just for the sake of natural justice, but likewise, if she doesn't turn up at that one, and then I think we may have to proceed because we can't just sort of keep this lingering on. Thanks, convener.
Councillor Jordan?
Thank you. Can you? I'm not sure if you can see me. My camera's messing around. Hopefully you can hear me. I am more inclined to go ahead because I'm concerned about the licence holder still holding a licence until our next meeting. But I do hear what you're saying about natural justice. I don't know if this question can be answered, but what are the risks of her continuing to hold a licence until our next meeting?
Is that a question directed at myself, Councillor Jordan?
Yes.
Okay, I cannot answer that definitively, the risks for Ms Forteith holding a personal licence. What I would say is that in terms of natural justice, obviously breach of natural justice is a ground of appeal, so ideally you do want individuals to be able to come to yourselves and speak to their own case, points in mitigation, rebut what's the matters raised by the police. You don't know the reasons why Ms Forteith is not present today, given the matters that are raised by the police. I would also say as well that you may wish to consider your legal remit here as a licensing board. Your principal legal remit, your locus, is regulating the sale of alcohol from licensed premises. You're not a mental health tribunal. So there's a lot of issues there to kind of be teased out, and you may wish to consider the advantages of Miss Forteith actually being able to be present to speak to the issues here. But your legal remit is regulating the sale of alcohol from licensed premises, and there are obviously issues that police are raising that slant toward alleged mental health issues, and you're not a mental health tribunal, so I cannot speak to any risk. What I would say obviously is that if Miss Forteith did not have a personal licence, she can still work in licensed premises as a bartender or as a person in a supermarket. She does not need a personal licence to work in licensed premises. So then you're looking at what you're seeking to achieve here with the ultimate sanction of revoking a personal licence. You can still work in licensed premises anyway. Does that assist at all?
It does, yes, thank you.
No worries.
I mean, I'm happy to go along with, you know, putting it on hold until she has another opportunity. Thank you.
Councillor Little?
Thanks, Chair. I'm minded as well to defer. There's nothing in any of these reports that states that she was a danger to anyone in the public house, that within her job as a bartender, or I think to have a personal licence, I think it would be some sort of supervisory job within that. And there's nothing in here. There are, as Caroline says, what appears to be a very, very awful mental health situation here, but nothing here makes me afraid that she's going to be doing anything to the public. It's more to herself. So I'd be minded to hope that we can find a way to encourage Ms Forteith to attend the next meeting. I know she did attend the last one and gave us she was under some care at the time, so that's what gave us the confidence. So I would really like to be able to hear from Ms Forteith rather than us deliberate right now. And I'm not concerned. I'm concerned for her, but I'm not concerned so much about anything happening within her occupation, if she's carrying on with that at the moment.
With that, I think the majority or unanimous feeling is that we defer this until February. We will then hear it on February, and if Ms Verteeth isn't present at that occasion, we would like to take a decision on that date. Caroline, are you happy with that sort of summing up?
That's clear, convener. So you've made a determination that because Ms Verteeth is not here to speak to the alleged matters raised in the police letter, I can see Councillor Bretti's got his thumb up there. I will assume that that is him concurring with your view, convener. The decision is made to defer consideration of this matter to your next hearing in February 2023. I can see on my screen Inspector Hugh McComb. So basically, Inspector, that members ideally would wish Ms Verteeth to be present to actually, in terms of natural justice, to speak to the matters that you've raised in your letter. She's not with us today, clearly, and members are not, it's not entirely clear why she's not with us today, and members would prefer that she is present to be able to speak to the matters that you've raised in your police letter. So the decision made by the board is to defer, and you'll be aware that there is no statutory timeline ticking here with a section 84A. So the matter will be heard, convener, in February, at your hearing in February 2023. We will, of course, the team will notify Ms Verteeth of that decision. Thank you.
Well, thanks for coming along, Inspector, but I think in the case of natural justice, we'll proceed that way. With regard to the agenda, I have no further business today. Could I thank you all for your attendance?
Thank you.
Chair.
Thank you.
Thanks, convener.
Chair.
Thank you.